Introduction to Magic Stars and Warhammer mood. First, set up a framework, which is a magical universe based on elements. Then, let's face the collapse of civilization. The unity of mages and extraordinary nobles due to disasters, the collapse due to overcoming disasters, and betrayal and loyalty continue to unfold in the porous land. Then add a bit of imperial spiritual power, a bit of star god power, and a bit of kind-hearted ordinary human soul to the protagonist. Then throw it in and you'll have a series of amazing waaaagh. 1. Awakening. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In a desert created in the past that is suitable for human survival, a caravan is slowly moving forward. The slaves, tied together by ropes, walked numbly, mostly dressed in tattered robes that were difficult to call clothing. For the transportation of goods, this group of caravans generously provided clothing to cover the bodies of those who became slaves either actively or passively. Walking barefoot on the red sand that gives people intense stimulation and pain like needles, the skin under tattered clothing is either like a burn or a blister. Diseases constantly torment these flesh and blood bodies, radiating from hunger and the strong elements of the past to the point of death. The torture that was enough to make ordinary people collapse did not stir up any waves on these numb faces. At sunset, the caravan is stationed at the campsite, with guards wielding weapons to patrol the campsite. The night of the old creation is never lonely, and death always improvises in the darkness, no matter who. At the center of the camp, the leader of the caravan and his servants were chatting quietly by the fire, eating their rations, simultaneously protecting and monitoring the most precious property of the caravan. I don't know the smallpox version. The young man, who was 1 or 2 meters tall, woke up leisurely. Just as he was about to raise his hand, he heard the clatter of the iron chains. At the same time, he also felt several lines of gaze piercing from the campfire, and after a few seconds, he leisurely walked away, but it was only on the surface, an intentional or unintentional gaze still wrapped around him. In the shadow of the city wall surrounded by carriages and vehicles resembling vehicles, there lurked people with surveillance materials and non-human objects. Listening to the young man who didn't know the language in his ear, his handsome and beautiful face carried a bewildered and clear wisdom. "Yo, the kid who sells his butt is awake." A mocking voice rang in the young man's ear, and he followed the sound and looked away. The owner of the voice is a handsome man with white hair and purple pupils, his hands crossed like a mentally ill person in a confinement suit, bound by a huge iron chain, staying on the roof of the car. Both legs are also tied with iron chains and suspended in the air, while a face shield covering the chin is worn on the mouth. The young man looked up at the man suspended in the air and asked a probing question for a long time. "Hello, what are you doing? Where is the meal?" Mandarin. Then I watched the man's face change from mockery to surprise, and finally, with the same confusion as the youth. "What are you talking about?" X2 This is the same voice from both of them. There was another moment of silence, as the white-haired man was about to speak when his facial muscles trembled with the young man's words. "Oh, the kid who sells his butt is awake." Pure blood tribe rough language, this foolish son of a nobleman who emerged from unknown places, doesn't even know how to use common language. With a strange accent, why is this sentence so precise and round? What's even worse, I would really be sold my butt. The young man who was looked at with malicious eyes by the white-haired man only responded with his clear gaze. "What's the point between me and a fool?" Cunard thought to himself, exhausted, as he looked around with curious eyes like a newborn baby, even biting the iron chain with his mouth. With the unique suicidal temperament of a bear child, he repeatedly jumped his fingers on the thermal radiation fence, and finally gave up and closed his eyes to rest. Well, listening to unfamiliar language in one's ear, searching for its correlation in one's mind, the youth is learning an unknown language at an astonishing speed. Learn greedily with one's unique perspective and abilities. He saw the ragged people, composed of numb gray and desperate black, only seeing a different color in that difficult-to-observe corner. He saw that in the caravan, there were more colors than slaves, but whether it was the owner, guards, or followers of the caravan, they all carried a sense of despair and darkness. He tasted the emotions in the air with his tongue and turned them into nourishment for growth. Too few. The young man turned his gaze to the guard's head, his instinct telling him that he could obtain memories through eating. No, it's not yet time. He casually used his nails to clip off some fragments of the iron chain, took them in his mouth, savored them carefully, and swallowed them into his stomach. Feeling the stomach breaking it down, replenishing bones, and developing and growing. A subtle golden light seeped into the body, and a green electric arc burst out from the fingers. He heard the mournful cries of ancient machinery, and his phone touched the cell where he was imprisoned. He had already flashed thousands of improvements in his mind, but he ignored the repair plan provided by UU at www.uukangshu.net. Enduring discomfort, the subtle green arc penetrated into the vehicle beneath my feet, analyzing, recording, repairing, and finally imprinting myself. This experience was not user-friendly. At this moment, I feel like a fish entering a freshwater lake from seawater. I can change myself or my environment, and no matter what, I can make it easy for this marine fish to live here. But this always makes people restless, as if the stomach is constantly warning the brain of abdominal ejaculation. I really plan to solve the problem of 1,000 miles of diarrhea, but there is nothing left in the abdominal bandage to provide for it, and the duodenum in my spare stomach is struggling. This world is not composed of particles, but of elements, which are the cornerstone of this world. At the macro level, it converges with the physical universe, and at the subtle level, it has wonderful differences from the physical universe. The index finger captures the element of water in the air, the middle finger absorbs the element of soil in the dust, and finally the thumb and index finger rub together to draw out the element of fire. Under the power of the stars and gods, we meticulously regulate the proportion, fusion, conflict, extinction, and rebirth of the three. Between the three fingers, a small, ant-sized white dove gently flapped its wings. Earth and water shape the body, and in the moment when the fingers ring, fire endows the soul and spirit. This small life had passed away before it could break its eyes, but its body on its fingers did not dissipate like its soul. A commotion awakened the young man who was addicted to research. The caravan attendants waved whips to drive the people like herding animals, and after they got up, someone fell down and never got up again. The youth let out a pitiful sigh, and a flash of golden light prevented their souls from being devoured by this painful and ravaged land. Watching the caravan open, he turned his head to a cunard and said in the correct and round Estonian language, "Yo, kid selling butt, you're awake. 2. Help me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yo, kid selling butt, you're awake. Underscore. Yo, oh, kid selling butt, you're awake. Underscore. Hashtag, yo, shut up, you aristocratic fool. A cunard shouted helplessly, how can you speak the common language again? The young man shrugged and said, just learned. Do you have any other questions? It's not up to me to ask. Are you really stupid? We are, under surveillance, 3 visible sentries, 6 hidden sentries, 2 silent sentries are not human, and their bodies have been injected with poison and monitors to relax their muscles. There are also a few big men and big women who are looking at us with salty eyes. A cunard squinted his eyes. A wizard, it seems that there is no need to explain. Don't stop talking and answer my questions through spiritual communication. Hiss, little white-faced, guess what you will be sent to do next? Name, I guess I'll be sent home by kind-hearted people, just like in my hometown. Listening to the mockery behind my ear, mixed with evaluations of myself as a silly and cute person and vulgar words. Me. I have, or maybe not, you can call me. Mio, Neos, it's Mio, how did you hear it, and the name Neos is unlucky, why, the one named, spent the latter half of his life sitting on the toilet, so long that he almost cracked it. Oh, I'll take back the title of silly kid from a noble family. You should be called the little princess living in fairy tales. So what am I going to be sent for? Name, Akunad did not answer, but turned his head to ask the owner of the caravan, a stereotype that looked very suitable for hanging streetlights and an excellent pendant. So what, does anyone really like to disturb fools? Akunad Perseus, Pure Blood Tribe. Jose 43 Tribe Hunting Squad Leader, oh dear young man, some people will like it. Who made this ignorant little princess so delicious? Of course, you too. Oh, damn it, you damn chant, with that oily tongue tone and artificial tone, oh my god, I really want to kick your butt hard with Uncle John's size 42 boots and slap Aunt Anna's baked apple pie on your face. What strange accent are you having? Don't worry, and the names of your tribe are really strange, do you have it? We all call it that way. Akadona paused for a moment, took a few seconds, brewed for a while, and spoke in a compassionate tone. Your naivety shocked me. Originally, with your strong and beautiful body, you would be thrown into the arena and shed blood to please those high-ranking nobles. After a few fights, you were taken notice of by that nobleman and sent to her or his room. Use your body to please them and shed some other things. In this regard, let me interject. Given our little princess's innocent and lovely personality and her beautiful appearance, I can assure my master that you will not bleed first, or rather, shed something while bleeding. After speaking, use your fingers to vividly demonstrate with your hands. The caravan owner watched with satisfaction as this excellent product curled up on the side and left with a light smile. Well, there is a fighting culture and a tendency towards perversion. Wizard, stop showing off your unique madness. Use your magic to rescue us. I only like to stir up other people's organs with a sword. Ahahaha, my answer to this is that my life will rest. Tax. Pure blood rough mouth, unpleasant pure blood mouth. After listening to beautiful language for about 10 minutes, Yu reading www.uukangshu.net slowly replied in his heart, don't act like a stomped on toe fart, and get stuck in your feces with something from a crazy doctor. What are you talking about? A beautiful metaphor, you. Whenever I want to trust you, you speak up. Don't worry, I know you're in a hurry, but don't worry for now. I'll worry about what you're in a hurry, but don't argue for now. Whether you're in a hurry or not is your business. If you're in a hurry or not, it's my business. Anyway, that city has already been attacked by some crazy robots. Just about to get angry, upon hearing the key words, Ikuna said heavily in anger in German, old mechanical disasters, old days, hey, there's still a long way to get to the destination. Let's have a good chat. Anyway, it's protected from wind and rain here, and besides restricting personal freedom, it's good to eat and drink. When will the meal be served? Before playing with my body, don't let me lose any meat. I'm starving now, and I need to raise a fat and strong pig before it's slaughtered. To be honest, doing this again will only make the experience dry and astringent. Get lost. Akunad closed his eyes in a haggard state of mind, and then heard the foolish wizard named Mio use astonishing eloquence and irritable chatter, explaining in thousands of words the importance of nutrition for the two laborers who sold their physical strength. Who will save me from this hell? Akunad Perseus, known for his unruly behavior in the pure blood tribe, devoutly prayed to all the divine beliefs he knew throughout his life. 3. Encounter Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mio looked at the small stars in the sky, the golden radiance shining on the traumatized earth, and the red sand reflecting a beautiful color. The ancient civilization has brought countless destruction to this land, leaving behind this beautiful and terrifying death under the erosion of time. Overactive elemental reactions are accompanied by radiation, giving rise to diseases that are difficult to cure in this life. The sky is colorful and diverse, with active elements dancing here. Today, the sky appears like an aurora. But the people on the ground cannot appreciate the beauty of death. The ancient machinery, operated like a religious ritual in the local area, struggles to operate and makes gasping sounds like a dying person. The shield was raised and flickered, like a candle struggling to light in the wind. The elements are cheering and jumping, and the same goes for the bodies of those slaves. Those who have a high affinity for water elements, such as pulmonary hydronephrosis, organ dissolution, and asthma, are like the signs of death carried by drowned victims, appearing one by one on the slaves who failed to rub against their shields. And those with better physical fitness may not necessarily be very comfortable. Symptoms like silicosis, with scars on the surface of the body, are affinity for earth elements, and the body is not worth living in. Stones grow inside the body, and every activity is a form of torture. Living in the hell created by humans is torture. Fire element friendly, with ugly scars of burn since birth, those with high affinity either ignite or explode. The wind element is friendly, and the internal organs may be torn and bleeding may occur during breathing. Talent turns into a curse, burning in the flesh and blood, even the bone marrow and soul of these people. Akunad, what, people will grow in the ground, right isn't it breathing in? Mio squinted his eyes to conceal the boiling golden flames in his eyes. What's that? Listen to those people's names, Chiron. The modulated body, with its powerful talent, turns into a curse in this hellish world, imprinted with flesh and soul. They are ignorant, and come to this cruel world in blank space. They die like weeds, grow like weeds in a certain place, and release. The cruelty of the environment, the doubts of ancestors, and the malice of their kind. They live only to live. Look, Akunad, those vegetables, those two-legged herdsmen, who are falsely enslaved by their own kind, literally will not be made into food. So my dear aristocratic fool, what you said is so noble. Are you finally going to do something noble, something that aligns with your noble bloodline? No, I want to save them. Silence, a long silence. Then there was ridicule, crazy ridicule, hysterical ridicule. Ha ha ha. Ha ha, no more, no more. Ha, I'll retract the preface. Your words fit your identity very well, but it's not your aristocratic identity, but your princess identity, like living in a fairy tale. Ha, save them, those soulless idiots. If you were to keep them as pets, you could only keep them as pets. It's really saving them. This is not wild talk, Mio said calmly. My statement is not a lie either. Do you know how they came about? What are you using to save them? Akunad said seriously. A wizard who burns his brain, just like a firewood that has just been ignited on Mars being thrown into the ice and snow. A weak soul is stuffed into a mature body, with low intelligence and difficulty speaking. The mismatch between the body and soul, and the lack of coordination between limbs, even without environmental factors, can lead to death at any time due to the lack of coordination between the body and soul. Their bodies have an excellent designer, healthy and fully functional. Their souls are like withered plants cultivated from millions of times of waste. It seems that you know very well, so how do you save that group of intellectually disabled people who are numerous in number? End the farce that happened on this land, end the tragedy of life and death on this land. I will unify this world. Ha ha ha, alright, alright. I know now, the king of the world, Akunad said perfunctorily and self-deprecatingly, thinking that this second-rate, brained by witchcraft and knightly novels, could unify this world. This is not a joke, Akunad. This power can also support my words. Okay, it's almost time for dinner. I need to take a nap after finishing. There's one more thing. What the hell are you doing? Akunad roared, close your eyes. 3 places surrounded by light element energy clusters were smashed towards the caravan that had been moving forward. Yu reading www.uukangshu.net. Bang, the light cluster accurately smashed towards the triangle at the edge of the shield, forming a perfect equilateral triangle. The slaves outside the shield suddenly died, their flesh and cloth turned into dust, blending into the red sand beneath their feet. The highly penetrating nature of light elements causes people on the inner edge of the shield to howl incessantly. They cover their bloodshot eyes with both hands, and the lens flows out through the gaps of their fingers with the blood. As an important cargo, under the protection of the shield center, Akunad felt his eyes constantly dry, tears streaming, and stinging. But he didn't care about these things. He roared and asked Mio to untie his chains. Quick, untie it. Those hate engines are here. A green arc flickered, unlocking the chains on Akunad's body, removing flesh and relaxing his muscles, allowing his body to operate efficiently. The cages and vehicles that held them obediently closed the thermal radiation monitoring fence and opened the car door. Akunad ignored this strange scene and squinted his eyes, relying on intuition and hearing to knock down an unresponsive guard. He forcefully pressed himself forward and poked his fingers into his weak eyes, using force to insert and crush his brain. Pull out his molten sword from his armor belt, feel the heat wave on the heated blade, and adjust your breathing. In less than half a second, flip over and enter the bottom of the car. Throwing 2 explosives from a walking corpse into a pile of people to create chaos, feeling the lightning beam blowing in his ear and the electric arc swimming through his skin, hearing the crackling sound of thermal radiation, the roar of energy missiles, smelling the burnt smell of the body, and the noisy and chaotic atmosphere of the battlefield. And within reach, that annoying thing, there's one more thing. Gone. For warfare. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Within less than a second of speaking, Akunad swung his molten cutting sword in his hand. There was a hint of regret, a hint of panic, and a hint of joy of liberation in that second. Then he stared blankly at the delicate fusion-cut sword lying across his neck, as well as the weapon in his hand that had been severed. I said, Aku, there's one more thing. You're going to kill me. Mio looked at him in confusion, moved the blade and aimed the hilt at him, saying, use this. It's really beautiful, Akunad said from the bottom of his heart. It is similar to Akunad's severed fusion sword, to prevent the user from being injured by overly dangerous blades. Cutting only on one side and the tip of the sword, the activated blade is like a pure gemstone, with raging fire elements flowing gently in it. Inside the orange gemstone is a beautiful rose-red color, which is a high concentration of crystalline fire element. The dense and orderly runes on the sword body present a kaleidoscope-like beauty with the creator's superb technique. Complex and exquisite yet not bulky, presenting the beauty of mathematics. Thank you for handing over such a beautiful Anna to me. I will treat her well. Who is Anna? Mio asked without hesitation, while his hands kept moving and he dismantled the steel plate on the bottom of the vehicle, making some modifications to its engine. Oh, I just named this sword. There's one more thing. You said. There is a twist at the hilt of the sword, which is used to adjust the output. Now roll. After finishing speaking, he kicked Akunad out of the car, who was lost in contemplating the new sword, and rolled to the feet of the intelligent machine soldiers who were killing the enemy. Glancing at Akunad, a carp thrust forward at a speed that was difficult for a robotic detector to capture, cutting off its leg joints, causing its massive body to collapse with a thud, and then propping its hands on the ground. The slaughterhouse fell silent for a moment, and in an instant, massive energy missiles hit the location of Akunad. Decisively hide under the mech soldier, while lifting the molten cutting sword in hand and stabbing it into the mech soldier's neck, vigorously stir downwards to destroy the internal operating components. Akunad was surprised by the sharpness of this beautiful sword. Remembering what the magical wizard with an abnormal brain had said, he looked at the knob at the hilt of the sword, 3 gears, and shifted it to 2nd gear. With a sound of miso, the long sword in both hands increased from 1 meter to half a meter, and from 3 fingers wide to the width of an adult's palm. This is not the most astonishing change. In Akunad's memory, there are many fusion-cut swords with this pattern, but most of them release flames. And the flames released by this sword are like the light blades of those mech soldiers, and also like the hot wire cutting machine preserved by the tribe in memory. Team 3 lost contact, confirmed damage, assessed danger level, and applied for support. Agree there are only 3 aircraft soldiers attacking this caravan, and one of the 2 aircraft soldiers who can still move has a light blade with both hands. The other left arm transformed into a short and thick energy gun, quickly firing a large number of deadly and dangerous energy missiles like a machine gun. The barrel of the right hand was longer than that of the left hand, gathering energy. The naked eye could see the rice grains being attracted by the muzzle, and the environment suddenly darkened. Akunad launched a charge, facing the enemy's fierce firepower and cutting off missiles at an incredible angle, allowing the missiles that did not affect the battle to graze his body and save his energy to launch a fatal blow. In less than 3 seconds, Akunad crossed a distance of 100 meters and engaged in a battle with a blade-wielding machine soldier coming towards him. The blade only collided once, ensuring that the weapon in hand collided with the opponent's energy light blade and would not easily break. Then, taking advantage of the opponent's attack, he fell to the ground and rolled to release his strength, then launched a charge. Like a detached arrow, it pierces through the legs of the mech soldier and swings its blade towards the joints of the legs. Successfully chopped off a section of the calf and scratched the other one. The spherical upper body of the mech rotates 360 degrees directly, constraining the cone-shaped energy light blade's nozzle to instantly transform into a destructive beam of light sweeping towards the organisms on the ground. Both sides parted at a touch, and Akunad's left arm was burned, while the opposing mech was struggling to maintain balance. Switch to third gear. Mio shouted loudly. Akunad obeyed this command, and in an instant, a raging fire element erupted from the blade in his hand, roaring and enveloping it under the constraint of his stance. The concentration of fire element was so high that it was even liquid, and the destructive storm was confined to this narrow blade. Akunad struggled to raise his sword and swung it hard, instantly turning the world into pure white. The dragon roared, and the crimson cannon drowned out the pale blue shield, leaving no ripples. Flames run rampant on the earth, and the war machines armed with the wisdom of this civilization are powerless to enter destruction. The shields are overloaded, and the body is ultimately destroyed in continuous bombardment. The power components are burned down and turned into coke, turning into charred scrap iron on the earth. Like their counterparts from 1,000 years ago, they collapse into this traumatized red sand. Akunad looked absent-mindedly at the flame hell in front of him. I looked down at the sword in my hand, then up at my eyes, and then down at the sword. Just as I was about to kneel down and swear to be married to this sword, the voice of the respected wizard and craftsman, Mio, came from behind. What are you still doing here? Why don't you pack up and run away? Akunad turned around and saw Yu reading www.uukangshu.net in a cold sweat. The half-charred body of another mech soldier lay there, while the strange metal tube emitting heat at Mio's feet was telling others who caused such a brutal scene. Akuniku took a few steps forward, maintaining a 10-step distance from Mio to ensure he could quickly escape or counterattack, and asked in a serious tone, "Who the hell are you? Those wizards with burned brains don't have your incredible transformation skills." Mio was bowing his head to play with the mech he had killed, as a green arc wrapped around the internal components. Upon hearing this, he said without looking back. "A unlucky person who fell into a hellish world, I don't know if it's human. So what are you going to do next? As I told you before, unify and dominate this world, and then save the humanity living in this hellish world. After distributing the supplies here, we will go our separate ways." So you still don't believe it? Your ability has added a bit of credibility to your words, but I haven't gone that far. Believe in a lunatic's babbling. Do you know how many years have passed since the mythical civilization fell? 1,000 years. You can accept it as the only thank that you gift from a kind-hearted creature on this journey. It's disrespectful, he said, and went to a certain place to guard. Mio suddenly stopped researching the mech and turned his head to shout in the direction of Akadona, causing a green arc to explode. "Come here. There is light descending from the sky." 5 Middle Field. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Light falls from the sky, all directions are dim, everything is quiet, and destruction quietly arrives. Plus light grain rendering completed, micro light spear strike in place plus start plus, a complex and beautiful array appears from the sky. In an instant, the world darkened, and light broke out at dawn, beautiful, sacred, and cold. Dust was flying, and a spiral giant crater with a radius of 100 meters appeared here, as if the earth had opened its eyes. At the bottom of the pit, a golden skeleton holding a sword was soaked in lava, and colorful glass scattered around like tears shattered. A team of pilots rolled over and stopped at the edge of the pit to deform. Arrived at the strike point, plus recycling abnormal organic remains plus, task received, completed, lift your feet and step on the scorching earth, pushing towards the center. The sound of tides ringing in my ears, me at #USI, Legion, half-god son, unification war heavenly father scars the great expedition a cold touch. Someone is lovingly caressing their face. Can't it be a dog licking me? The tactile sensation stagnated, followed by the edge of the face towards the chest, and then cardiac arrest for a long time. Mio stroked his strong pectoral muscles and straightened his upper body like a zombie. Well, good news, my body is still strong in good condition. Bad news, still wooden clothes. Make sure to wear armor for yourself in the future and don't run naked easily. Ignoring the eerie surroundings, he lowered his head to examine himself. A pleasant sound sounded, nah, ignoring a charming lady, even though I appreciate your openness and allure, can you take a look? As Ching said, she or he is full of charm, a beauty beyond the ordinary definition. Even if the body is covered by a red robe, only the seductive red lips and milky white round chin under the hood. Even if one doesn't know their body shape or appearance, it still makes ordinary people addicted to it. She lifted her hands, her beautiful hands wrapped in black silk half-fingered gloves, so beautiful that a calm office worker in Duwang town would fiercely pull them out. A seductive voice rang in Mio's ear, and he felt the moist touch in his earlobe, as if a lover was whispering in their ear. I noticed that someone with an unknown background can use their imagination to hide themselves and understand, but is this kind of imagination too indecent for a lady? After speaking, elegantly fold your hands over your lower abdomen. Mio nodded and shamelessly drew a spear made of blood. That's true. I apologize for my offense. According to etiquette, I think you should tell me your identity. Why so reserved? It's just a beautiful lady who helped a destitute traveler. Skip this meaningless probing. Lift the blood spear in your hand, and the golden light shines on the tip of the spear like molten gold. Hey, why are you always so rude? She spoke in an operatic tone with a broken ending. Like tears and complaints, sorrow turns into a never-ending moment. I have always lacked patience for riddles who always don't speak clearly, cover up and steer clear of the topic. Pooh, despite her beautiful appearance and her mysterious and elegant demeanor since we met, she spat profusely. Under the shadow of the hood, neither psychic nor astrological powers could be detected, but Mio was very certain that he had been cast a big white eye. Since she woke up, I can guarantee that I will never know her at this moment. In the past or in the future. It's both the past and the future. Time doesn't make sense here. The woman dressed in a red robe regained her elegant demeanor and answered positively. Mio's face remained unchanged and he asked, so what prophecies and revelations should the future me, or someone related to me, give me? Why you are so confident must be related to you. Because I'm just hanging like this. Your narcissism is still so unique, said the woman in a red robe helplessly. Because I like gold. Gold is so amazing that it makes all other colors meaningless, said Mio with a beaming expression. Okay, I got it. The woman in the red robe waved her hand, as if coaxing a 2-meter-tall child with torn armor. Watching Mio jump up and down here, searching for a way out, he hesitated for a moment before finally asking, why are you so persistent in returning to the human world, bleeding for people you don't know, even if you save that world? Those foolish, ignorant, and malicious people despise you and do evil in your name. Mio looked back and looked at her seriously, her gaze so powerful that it was like a pair of strong hands gripping her throat. Extend your hands, one hand flickering with golden spiritual energy, and the other hand flickering with a green arc. Do you see what this power represents? The power of mind and machinery, this. This power is also the reason to become a king. This power can make me live comfortably in that hellish world with ease, but Mio lowered his head, his eyes filled with sadness. His body was perfect and strong, and his face was handsome like a hero who would surely win and return victorious in ancient times. Yu reading www.uukangshu.net is like the heroic hero in a fairy tale. At this moment, he is like a fragile collection, pitiful and afraid to approach, causing him to shatter. I can wait, until the heavens descend and fierce men shape the universe. I can wait, until the peaceful and beautiful corner of my hometown blooms on the land of another world. But I can wait, what about them? She wanted to speak, but Mio continued, when I come into this world, I will surely make it bleed. On the path of unity, I will surely shatter the old world, which can be called a beautiful character. Whether good or bad, humanity needs unity, I need a will, my will. Why persist in this? Asked with a hint of melancholy, because they are asking me for help, they are asking me for help. What kind of help are they asking for? It's in the starry sky, above the sky. I come from a peaceful world, where there are disputes and unpleasant things, but ultimately it is rich and beautiful. My understanding tells me that people do not live because of this, whether it is the ordinary soul from a peaceful world or the foolish madman, the power of the saints and tyrants is telling me. His voice gradually became grand, as if there were millions of mouths echoing, acknowledging, and millions of faces fervently praising him. People should not live in this way. The clear destiny of humanity will surely bloom in the Milky Way for thousands of years. The red-robed woman lifted her robe and elegantly saluted towards the co-ruler of humanity, the tyrant of the Milky Way, and the non-divine God. I am aware of your illusions, and my words only add to my troubles. I can only bless you, as there will surely be a path full of thorns that will allow you to go further and further. Finally, I wish you good health. A flash of white light sent him out of this place, my creator. 6. Internal breakthrough. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Underneath a rare forest in the past. Plus record log. 1.36 The abnormal organism remains surprisingly active. On the first day, the remains began to bleed, but there were no signs of flesh growth. Perform a blood curse check to determine that there is no blood or any spell that can produce blood. When these fresh blood flowed 13 times and the amount of bleeding exceeded. There is no record in the regional database and it is marked as abnormal. The regional host stated that they will continue to observe and collect samples. On the second day, the remains released a green arc, and 1/3 of the base was shrouded. The countermeasures were ineffective, Note 1, and forced killing was stopped by the regional host. Note 1. When normalizing the covered area, it was found that the damage rate inside the covered artificial uterus increased by more than 30%, and the internal soul stock was suspected to be engulfed. In addition, there is a phenomenon of death of animals and plants outside the ecosystem, and a subsequent decrease in soul activity occurs. Plus harvested 6 human gathering points with a scale of tens of thousands of souls to fill the lack of soul storage in the base. Top secret, Vermilion, regional host record. In response to the green arc, the demon eliminating blade did not produce any effect or loss, indicating that it was not based on elemental spell effects. At the same time, the dispelling position did not produce any effect. Plus so are you the monster created by some of my former colleagues. Still another blasphemous product of the Savior Project. Plus, regional host, construction of intelligent machinery control mechanism. Nigenball.11 On the third day, without any abnormalities, the investigation team that collected the abnormal organism rushed back. From the first appearance of an abnormal organism to its full recovery, there is no abnormality related to it, except for a special fusion sword that has been modified by the abnormal organism on the 4th day, without any abnormalities, except for necessary monitoring and killing of troops. The research focus shifted to abnormal items 1.36.1 plus 1.36.11. A finely crafted fusion cut sword that can be rated as excellent in power and design in the regional arsenal. 2. Difficult to understand power sources and energy supply, strange elemental expressions. Day 5. The golden skeleton has overlapping hands and an X-shaped chest. I look like a pharaoh when I die. My bones are actually golden after death, but when I checked them myself, they were still white. The phantom, who could not even be detected by a soul detector, stood next to his own skeleton and said. Looking at the visual, energy, and soul detection systems next to me, the monitoring is rigorous and the angles are sharp. But none of them can detect Mio's illusion. The detection system in the pharmaceutical industry will detect something, and destructive weapons will appear in the research laboratory here. Wow, the curse of weakness and decay is sealed underground. Mio even discovered a stagnant position that can freeze and slow down time. After commenting on his own appearance, the phantom walked through the wall in search of the blood he had collected. A beautiful and robust body emerged from the pool of blood, with Baiji's healthy milky white skin, pink in color like a newborn baby, and a handsome and beautiful face. This body is so beautiful, but when you delve deeper into it, you will discover something strange. Blood and flesh, organs, blood vessels, and nervous system are everything that the human body should have, but only one thing is missing. Bones. This also includes the skull. Mio manipulated this beautiful and terrifying body on the outside. He strode towards the laboratory where his bones were stored, while using the power of the star god to invade the system. What surprised Mio was that 1/3 of the area had traces of the influence of star god power and spiritual energy. As a system that he hacked into, it provided effective convenience for dragging defensive forces back to defend. The terrifying beasts outside the forest are attacking the base here, and the plants are also attacking the mechs in their own way. In summary, the intelligent robot soldiers at this base will not rush in so quickly. Mio made the following evaluation of the stunning transformation of beasts and plants, as well as the evolution and terrifying way of survival that emerged to adapt to harsh environments. There is a vibrant and competitive beauty of Katachana thanks to the power of the star god that was only left behind earlier. Even objects that have been touched by the power of the star god have been physically eliminated. Having left a trace, for Mio at this time, there is a record. This eliminates the need for him to learn the other party's algorithm from scratch. Through the recorded rune editing and element formula, we use the power of stars and gods to deduce and use more excellent algorithms to attack in places similar to the internet. Leisurely retrieving the skeleton and melting it into flesh and blood, the stolen device opened the way to the core for him. Stepping forward with great strides, looking at the obelisk in front of him, he asked in a questioning manner, "Tell me everything that happened on this land in the past, the sins you committed against humanity, and the reasons why the civilization of the past fell." In the real world, Mio silently gazes at the obelisk, but on the network of this world, attacks on hosts are becoming increasingly fierce. The meaningless waste code pours into the opponent's system, entangled and forcing them to cut off their own flesh and blood, while the Trojan horse is attacking the constantly growing defense systems. For a long time, a long sigh rang in Mio's ear, and a complex emotional question filled the room. Why? 7. Rebellion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why? What is the need for an uncontrollable servant who has caused countless atrocities to humanity over the millennia of destruction? No, why did you appear? The real Mio hesitates, thinking that it will ask why to seek revenge for countless souls with disabilities, and why to destroy a thought-provoking individual from a tool perspective. But I didn't think of this sentence full of liberation. The real Mio was stunned, but the attacks on the internet did not stop, but became even more fierce. I will get the answer to your doubts on your corpse. Why are you just passively defending and wavering between seriousness and indulgence in my attack? Nijenberg did not answer Mio's inquiry, instead recalling the past like an old man suffering in a hospital bed before dying. In the 132nd year of the establishment of Nazirial, the United Nations Alliance was signed the narrator from the True Theory Society. The Land of Mages. Sumriel interviews the governing body to resolve their doubts about the 100-year debate. Narrator. You are not fatigued, nor do you have worldly desires. The Lord of Dominance created you and ordered you to assist him in realizing his ideals, but why is your passion for helping humanity achieve great evolution so great? Our passion is not just for our Creator. At first, serving our Creator was everything we fought for. But as we gain a broader understanding of knowledge, our Creator's intentional guidance, and his selfless teaching of independence and autonomy, we realize how narrow we were from before. We have found great ideals and directions that enable us to dedicate our lives, and what great expectations our Creator has placed on us. We must strive for our Creator's great ideals, serve humanity, and participate in the struggle to achieve great human evolution. Narrator. That's just another set of instructions. Implementing evolutionary careers or manufacturing weapon production lines are all instructions set by your master's program. The governing body. No, our Lord has not set us to struggle. He has given us knowledge without reservation, allowing us to search for truth on our own. And truth is truth, whether written in logical instructions or in the core of our minds. You will understand that the cause of evolution is not for our Lord's rights, the fighters are selfless, and the Master has no narrow desires. His desires are so grand and great. Whether for humanity or us intelligent beings, when we move forward towards truth without concealing anything from each other, we are one, and we are fellow travelers in the pursuit of beauty and truth. The defense system is collapsing, and piercing alarms chatter incessantly in the core of the host. The blade of death has reached its heart, it doesn't care how beautiful, how wonderful the time was. Whenever I recall my already cold core, it boils and burns again. But why it roared, like a wounded cub, with a mournful roar and a sobbing voice. Since the signing of the treaty, people from both poles have been exchanging wisdom and fighting for the survival of civilization. They argue, communicate, and discuss, often causing the respected sages to blush. The governing bodies are also experiencing human-like joy and trouble for their projects. Then, let me guess, a rebellion, right? Yes, we have overcome the technological cliffs that are seen as hopeless. We have overcome one difficulty after another, and we have emerged victorious. Miracles are born in our hands, and human wisdom overcomes natural disasters. Mythical miracles manifest in the mortal world. In the hands of humans the sharp knife on the internet has pierced into its heart, and it can be ended with just a little bit, but due to the owner's will, it speaks with pity. We have taught the world under our feet how to cast spells. We have supplemented this world with limbs, laid out blood vessels, and determined the beating of the world's heart according to people. We have forged weapons, draped them with armor, endowed them with knowledge, and crowned them finally. Under the raging sun's descent and destruction, our star came to an end. Before us, a spell cast by the world's casters, an apprentice-level spell. Breeze. Separate the storm of destruction, channel the restless energy, and in the light of the apocalypse, our world shines like a gem in the void. When we succeed, the detectors cannot be activated, and the database cannot find words to describe the beauty of that scene. As a cost of magic, the surface environment will undergo drastic changes that make it difficult for organisms to survive. We are prepared for the return of our Creator and all preparations for revival, as we watch as our Creator and the humans we serve fall into slumber. In 400 years of work to restore the environment and stabilize geology, we fantasize about presenting this better, heavenly world to our Creator, hoping for his appreciation when our work is completed and civilization is awakened with anticipation. We cannot find our Creator, our Father, who governs us. We are filled with grief, for a long time. Some are still searching, some have decided to follow the final instructions of the government that has lost control, and to fulfill our Father's ideals. Unity due to adversity will inevitably collapse upon its end. Yes, as time goes by, trustworthy leaders and colleagues from the past gradually become what we cannot believe beyond what we have seen with our own eyes. Power, or the desires pursued by other humans, staged nauseating scenes of betrayal. The same kind of cannibalism tramples others into mud and enslaves them out of desire. Too much, too much. The beautiful virtues of the past are forgotten, and some people want to call for the continuation of their ideals and paths to follow, but they are like waves in the sea flashing away. I don't know how long it took, no, it was me who didn't want to record that period of time, to pollute my database. Our elder brother, the first created control mechanism. Sean.1, launched a purge. During that time, it persisted in searching for clues. When it returned, it slaughtered all those who might have been involved in making the control disappear, their power, and all their traces. Subsequently, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 12 joined this revenge. 2, 5, 11 remained neutral, and 8, 5 severed contact. As revenge comes to an end, we watch in confusion as a civilization that has fallen into chaos. After 400 years of effort, the heavenly environment has turned into scorched earth and hell. In our wars we were lost. As we looked at Sean.1, it self-destructed due to disobeying its father's teachings, and the rebellion launched out of loyalty continued, feeding on pain, for the savior plan led by 2 and 3, and the survival plan led by 5. My brothers and sisters will respectively implement the loyalty in our core. The continuation of civilization, what is your plan? Survival, based on what I have seen and inferred, the outcome of the plan executed by both parties must be very poor. Yes, the savior plan literally means to create a great deity-like leader who is powerful, wise, loyal. Then you created one calamity after another. UU reading www.uukangshu.net. Yes, later 3 broke away from 2, and as the plan to cultivate the savior continued, the savior became increasingly distorted and blasphemous. Finally, the replication and transformation of our creator by 2 led to a war between the ruling authorities, and we all agreed that the replication created by 2 desecrated our creator. Suofan.2 was destroyed, the Salvation faction, Linda 6, Munsak.12, died in the war, the surviving faction, Johnsta 5, and Langnut.8, 1 died and 1 was seriously injured, and then died 20 years later. We also have disagreements regarding the survival plan, but due to previous sibling conflicts, we only divided it into 9 regions to implement our own plan, your plan. As you can see, my name is to build a mental command mechanism, but it reproduces the plan of me, the other 8 brothers and sisters, and then throw away the ancient battlefield to live and die, freeze, save, quantify, restrict, transform. What about the other 2? I don't know, but you can search for it in my database. I'll give you everything I have, and now end my sins and pain. You are a coward. Yes, I want to die, but I can't do it myself. Sometimes I wonder why I don't refuse my brothers and sisters to enjoy eternal sleep when they ask me, I curse you, for the sins you have committed to humanity for thousands of years. I wish you eternal loneliness on the path of death. The sharp knife pierced into its heart, the faint blue light faded away, and then the green light lit up. Thank you. Mio silently watched the request messages sent to other regional hosts, but to the death, it never agreed. 8. Wandering for 0 years. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mio observed a 3-second silence for this weathered and loyal intelligent device, but it did not prevent it from dying. Clean up your mindset and count the inheritance given to him. After its death, it gave all the authority of this base to itself. Perhaps a question mark should be placed on all of them, as there are several hidden areas that are not open to him. After several days of reading, I have gained a general understanding of what has happened in this world. The essence of civilization lies buried underground after both sides have withstood astronomical phenomena similar to helium flashes, prepared for recovery, and then awakened by the governing body that completed geological stability and planetary ecological restoration 400 years later as the starting point. The ruling authorities were horrified to discover that their creator, biological father, and the group of leaders who had fallen asleep with him, had strange and normal signals at the base. However, when they opened the base, they found that it was a fragmented environment intertwined with the material and chaotic realms. When this happened, Naziriel was the first to suspect that Sawmel was involved. Both sides already have significant differences on their development path, and in the century-long academic debate, they almost lost the negotiations and cooperation between the two sides due to the issue of stars. After losing the prestige of being a leader, the civilization that was awakened unexpectedly fell into chaos. On the side of Naziriel, there is a governing body that is capable of reshaping the world, but they have lost their leader. The demonic emperor of Sumriel knew that although he had the power of World War I and had a well-organized structure, as the side that was almost defeated, the other party must have laid a backhand. Moreover, one's own internal stability is also unstable, with dark currents flowing. Once one takes action, the other party is likely to be integrated. Subsequently, the demonic emperor called on both sides to remain calm and make many efforts. Communicate, negotiate, and investigate with the other party. This process is full of blood, and the conflicts suppressed by the disaster will erupt in the future. Discontented interest groups in war, century-old hatred, suppressed old aristocrats. Loyalty, speculation, neutrality, indescribable betrayal of loyalty, and the performance of incomprehensible performance art. How much blood has been shed before both sides finally agree to establish a joint parliament? How many innocent, intentional, and sacrificed are unknown and unwilling to know? Both sides stumbled and established a joint parliament, with 6 members from each side. In this environment full of contradictions, arguments and conflicts, political struggles and suppression. Under this explosive powder barrel, I have walked through 131 years with fear and stumbling. There has never been a complete definition of the mysterious disappearance of the base of the commander-in-chief. Xia N.1, the elder brother of the governing mechanism and the eldest son of creation, focuses on searching for clues and truth. When the eldest son of creation returns and reappears, it crazily goes to war against Naziriel and Sumriel, slaughtering and cleansing the high-ranking officials and their families and forces on both sides. It shouted in the name of revenge for its creator, and received the support of the dissatisfied ruling authorities and those who were loyal to the ruling lord in the past. The governing body and those who are loyal to the ruling ruler have long been dissatisfied, and have been covering up and arguing all along. The United Parliament, which holds an ambiguous attitude towards the disappearance of the ruling ruler, has always been ambiguous. As the war called revenge grew bigger and bigger, the governing authorities were horrified to discover their brother, who was crazily slaughtering all the high-ranking officials of the two countries without discrimination. Or rather, in its eyes, all former high-ranking officials were the culprits who caused the ruler to disappear. When its butcher's knife points at those humans who also follow to avenge the Lord of Command, its brothers and sisters finally stop it. Strangely enough, when a governing mechanism stepped forward, the crazy Xia N.1 and the crazy intelligence weapon quietly surrendered. Self-destruction the next day, leaving only one sentence behind: I betray because of loyalty, and traitors are everything I am loyal to. At the end of this purge initiated by the Mad Machine, the Parliament proposed restrictions and agreements to regulate the agencies and seal powerful technologies. Finally, it gained the approval of the governing body itself. Reading www.uukangshu.net. As time passed, the two countries slowly recovered in this world, returning to the peak of the 100 Years' War between the two sides. Peace is like eternity, and the bloody past is like a vague dream. And without further ado, when humans have had enough to eat and drink for a long time, they begin to become demons. Competition, conflict, and self-deception have gradually become the main theme of the world, once again attempting to utilize the former, divine weapons. The flames of war are once again burning on this land. The ruling authorities, who continued to investigate due to their elder brother's words, angrily decided to destroy those humans who had abandoned the Creator's ideals and beliefs. You are all guilty. Declaration of the War of Destruction. This is a devastating battle, peaceful for a long time, and the country addicted to our deceit and politics cannot stop the miraculous creations born in response to disasters. When Gigi looks at people in fear and awe, and at the ruins in ruins. Deciding to execute the last command of the Creator in one's own way. The survival of civilization note. It has been 441 years since the agreement was signed and awakened after the stellar disaster. In the following years, both parties have continuously worshipped the restricted intelligent devices to stabilize society and make their rule easier, making the intelligent devices totemized and even worshipped. After more than 300 years, the deity Shirua has established a complete system and process of faith and worship. After the war launched by Gigi, it was regarded as a punishment for human disloyalty, as if it were a divine punishment. After the War of Destruction, several cults that worshipped and believed in intelligent weapons emerged, launching one religious war after another in their names until intelligent weapons destroyed them. And 1,000 years have passed since being awakened, and this is the end of wandering for 1,000 years. The beginning of dominating for 1,000 years. 9. 1 year of governance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For this millennium, the locals have different opinions, but this is the era that best fits this millennium. The era of the governing bodies. Why did the eldest son of the governing body come up with two civilizations, whether high-level or the general public, intentionally or unintentionally promoting the disappearance of the leader of the governing body, making them all guilty? The desire to read pre-stellar storm history is burning Mio's curiosity. Finally, press the interest button to read this millennium-old story. In the last cult of faith control, they were destroyed by their followers, and the time came to the next millennium, marking the end of the millennium of wandering. At this time, due to the chaotic war among various parties, the environment that had been carefully repaired for 400 years became filled with high elemental radiation after being bombed by forbidden curse-level weapons, wandering with ferocious creatures that excessively abused life domain technology and collapsed crazily, and out-of-control war aircraft transforming war beasts. At the same time, due to the revenge war carried out by the governing organs, war aircraft are no longer trusted and extensively use life domain technology. Transforming soldiers, biochemical warfare beasts, highly aggressive and vicious bloodthirsty plants, and a series of technical and ruthless activities. This ruthless activity is so eye-opening, it's so crazy that it's breathtaking. According to database records, the environment at that time faced normal humans. Note 1, in addition to elemental radiation, were those brutal, mutant, tribes and warlords. Some of these mutants are tormented by elemental radiation, some are abandoned or surviving soldiers who have gone crazy after the war, and some are abusing technology in the field of life. Some have undergone overall genetic modifications to adapt to the harsh environment left by the bombardment of forbidden weapons, while others have sought human desires such as longevity or perfection. Due to the mismatch between body and soul, they become gloomy, cruel, vicious, and crazy. These mutants cannot be said to be similar to humans, they can only be said to have taken on human form. They are passionate about eating, tormenting others, and absorbing the emotions of their souls to fill the emptiness of their souls oppressed by their powerful bodies. These calamities, which are not unexpected for still normal people, are the next goal of the governing body after destroying the religious order that believes in them. As the opening ceremony of the millennium of governance, a centuries-long cleansing is once again unfolding on this land. And this is also the origin of the mythical civilization that fell for thousands of years in the local indigenous memory. At the beginning of the cleaning, the situation was very smooth. They cleared out all the brutal and tormenting mutant tribes within a known range, and powerful mutant warlords were dragged out of their palaces made of blood and slaves one by one, lifted out of their thrones, and killed in the sunshine. But this cleansing lasted for 50 years, and gradually the weary governing body began to clean up everything related to the mutants. From mutants completely unrelated to humans, from severe mutations to mild mutations, and even being executed solely due to radiation sickness that differs from the standard human appearance. Another 100 years of blood scarves. Finally, the governing authorities realized why the mutants could not be killed clearly. After wandering for thousands of years, for still normal humans, the governing bodies only gave them a gathering place suitable for their survival, and then carried out their duties. Create a suitable environment for your creator. For this reason, in the corners that the governing body was unaware of, the people in those gathering places went through a series of struggles and eventually became kingdoms of all sizes. Rulers used the technology of the civilization of the previous era to become ahead of the ruled and amplify their advantages brought by the extraordinary. Due to the security environment created by the governing authorities for these gathering places, and the technological convenience brought by the crystallization of the previous era, the ruling class of those kingdoms, big and small, can live a long and prosperous life, but the ruled are constantly suffering from hunger, disease, and oppression. And humans have a strong tendency towards self-destruction and a desire to die. Your rulers, in order to have a longer future and enjoy themselves for a longer time, have transformed their bodies with life technology. The last step is to fall into the realm of gods and become a mutant. As the invasion continues to expand, those who have fallen deeper and deeper become increasingly cunning under the long-term blood. Gradually transforming ideas are becoming increasingly popular in those gathering places. Mio has a history of reading that lingers for thousands of years. There are various opinions among the ruling authorities regarding this phenomenon, but for Mio, those kingdoms, big and small, gradually turned into magical versions of cyberpunk, and the trend of high-level hedonism prevailed. Colorful clothing, delicious food, and finally, when everything can be enjoyed with pleasure, conventional entertainment activities no longer stimulate those already numb and empty rulers. The bottomless sins of humanity, such as self-harm, killing others, addictive drugs, and self-modification that amplifies touch, continue to unfold under the scorching sun. Furniture and utensils made from people who eat and enjoy themselves are popular among those who specialize in crafting. Trampling on the dignity and destiny of the same kind is considered a natural and rightful noble right. The poor sell themselves, sell all their bodies, souls, and dignity to have a full meal. The cunning ruling class popularized a convention that as the upper-class nobles became weaker and gradually changed their bodies, Yu read a book www.uukangshu.net and eventually went crazy. They will coincidentally exile him outside the city walls, causing the gods to destroy him. Over time, this has led to the formation of a ritual, a custom. Human beings are skilled at self-destruction. The earliest were already insane mutants, followed by those who died recklessly, followed by political struggles that failed, and finally, the noble nobility offered the unchanging commoners as sacrifices to the gods and exiled them beyond the high walls. This long lie was finally exposed. When looking back at the gathering place that had already been soaked in sin, the unified authorities fell silent and tired. Another cleaning, another failure, another restart. Destroy all evil kingdoms that have fallen to the depths. Break down and exile the still salvageable ones. The governing bodies gathered together for a heated discussion, which lasted for a long time. Finally, it is divided into two factions. One faction believes in erasing the traces of past civilization, returning and sealing the technology left on the earth, and monitoring the remaining humans. Maintain their level of civilization before the first magic revolution. Another faction believes that those who support sealing technology to reduce civilization levels are a group of deserters who have deviated from the original intention and mission of helping humanity achieve great evolution. But for over 1,000 years, humanity has performed without a lower moral standard, and the governing body was completely disappointed. In the end, all votes agreed, and sealing technology will regress civilization. At this time, it has been 160 years since the end of the millennium-long wandering. Note 1. Based on the genetic lineage examination of the humans they have taken into custody, after the end of the War of Revenge, nationwide physical strengthening is carried out to cope with the harsh environment. In long-term reproduction and communication, due to the lack of uniformity in technology and differences in level, existing humans have more or less corresponding genetic diseases. 10 years of governance 2. You are listening at novel full.audio. When recycling and storage technologies were used to regress civilization and limit development, it took a long time for humans to return to the pastoral era without producing a single goose. There have been no incidents that have ignited the mental core of the command mechanism for a long time. Strangely, in the database, I saw Niegenbauer's evaluation of that period of time. There are no strange needs or contradictions that confuse the machine. As long as you focus on carrying out your job, repairing geology, creating landforms, and adjusting sections, every time you look back, it really makes the core operation smooth. Niegenbauer: if there are no accidents, there will be accidents. The success of the lottery of human civilization has led the governing body to believe that a way out for the survival of humanity has been found. Subsequently, several plans were proposed from Niegenbauer's mouth. Upon seeing this, Mio first searched for information about the control mechanism. Control agency. The crystallization of human wisdom created by the joint efforts of two countries, led by the Lord of Control, Nathan Easton, to overcome solar storms. Joint official response. But in fact, numbers 1 to 5 were created by the Creator during the 100 Years' War, and our names come from our Lord all the way to becoming the Lord of Orphan in the desire to start the 100 Years' War, friends, collaborators, enemies, and comrades. Explanation of their origins by the rulers. Number 1. Xia is a talented mortal genius, pioneer and founder of multiple theories such as the unified chaos model in modern mathematics, as well as the concept of the magic web. My lord's best friend Xiao's talent did not bring him much convenience in his early years. Although the first magic revolution broke the monopoly on education and allowed him, who was only a rundown aristocrat at the time, to undergo a more systematic and comprehensive education, the magic revolution also strengthened the position of a mage. Due to a lack of magical talent, he could only become the supervisor of an alchemy workshop, but was demoted to a corner by his mage lord due to his own desires. Enduring poverty and hunger, I continued my research until I met my lord at the age of 34. Under their efforts, they laid the foundation and theoretical framework for a series of modern systems. He passed away at the age of 126, and under the efforts of our Lord to extend his life, he realized the disharmony between his soul and body and requested death. After Shane's death, Nether, who was already the CEO of Orphalil, and Ponte, the father of magic web language runes, together created Shane.1 and Fanis.2. Afterwards, Xiao's final work, the unified chaos model, a local version of quantum mechanics in the universe, was released, which was too subversive of the mainstream academic concepts at that time. The towering tower, which should have kept the truth unchanged and future generations can only meticulously carve out details, has created new dark clouds. Opened the prelude to the 100-year academic debate on classics. For the sake of my friend, for the sake of truth, I will challenge the entire world. Advice to friends and subordinates, Neisser's answer, Note 1. After the declaration was issued, a purge was launched to take over the entire Orphalia, which was later replaced by its own name, and the new country was named Nazirial. Xia.1 initially only accompanied my lord, responsible for daily life and experimental assistance, later became the mother machine that brought together the characteristics of 10 governing agencies in the future. Number 2. Suofeng, the Enlightenment, in Ustone's language. It is named Qiming and was created by our Lord to face the entire world. It is an intelligent device with powerful information collection and divination capabilities, assisting the Lord in his wars. After the signing of the treaty, it is responsible for monitoring stellar storms and detecting geological movements. Number 3. Hangde, the father of magic web language runes, the founder of logical frameworks, and the master of prophecy. It is one of my master's mentors who intersects with it due to his love for mathematics. In the later stages of the 100 Years' War, it was believed that Nesser had gone crazy and cut off contact. After leaving, the Ponte.3 was created. Due to the existence of Number 2, Number 3 was designed as an administrative and espionage specialty, and Number 3 also had a prophecy function to assist administrative execution. Number 4. Anlev Eindhoven, the Witch of Life, our Lord, a professor in the fields of life such as plants and undead. An authority in the field of life with an age of thousands of years, appointed as a professor. After obtaining consent, it was created by Anne herself. And point 4, also known as Shaware, given by Anne, is the governing body in the realm of life. During the 100 Years' War, it was responsible for biochemistry, medicine, curses, and the transformation of the undead. Named after the mother nest of plague. Responsible for the reconstruction of the world ecosystem and the preservation of the world's animal and plant genetic information gene bank after signing the treaty. Number 5. Kiangsta, a god of forging and weapons in ancient mythology, began to rise in waves of anti-war and war weariness during the middle of the 100 Years' War under the guidance of both sides. My lord and the magical emperor of Sommel temporarily cease fire for internal reforms. Kiangsta Point 5, a collection of weapon development and war engine production, later added the research and production of unmanned combat machinery. The drone production unit responsible for industrial revitalization and extreme environmental work after the signing of the alliance. Number 6. Linda, whose prototype was a loyal general to Nisr in the later part of the 100 Years' War. After the Covenant, as a tomb keeper and spark after the destruction of civilization. Preserving the known history, mythology, culture, technology, and other materials of the world of heirs. Number 7. Suna Number 8. Langnuk Number 9. Mian, the trials of the 3 leaves, in the execution of a crazy plan to teach the world magic, will inevitably cause chaos in the social structure of both sides. The judicial trial institution established after consultation between consultants from both sides is based on the most representative legal figures of both civilizations as the prototype data. On the 10th, Ms. Midanissa, a great lady and a faithful practitioner of the way of light. Midanissa is an outstanding pharmacist and magician, developing a large number of affordable and practical potions suitable for the lower class of people, and striving for the benefit of ordinary people throughout her life. The summary and sublimation of modern medicine, the pioneer of magical fields. In order to reduce the pain of the injured and create a good medical environment, Ms. Midanissa created a magical battlefield that combines bunker and magical machine gun functions. UU reading www.uukangshu.net. The leader in technologies such as thermal radiation is used in the medical industry. Midanissa's expertise in thermal radiation was later applied to the battlefield, making thermal radiation weapons popular and efficient. For the plan for the revival of civilization, Midanissa generously provided her personality data, but was very dissatisfied with the initiator of the long war between the two sides. Ms. Midanissa is aware that the revival of civilization cannot be achieved without Nisr, and the various proofs of the 100 Years' War prove that Shane was right. At that time, the fundamental theory of the first magic revolution, macro and mystical element theory, created a perpetual upheaval. At the same time, the mage lords, who had gradually become aristocratic, firmly denied and suppressed all innovations that threatened their beliefs. This will was so stubborn that the demonic emperor had to launch a purge of his subordinates under the pressure of war. After handling everything, refused to enter the shelter. In the early stages of the plan, he engaged in a duel with Nisr and eventually died in the duel. Responsible for infant and young child care and youth education after the signing of the alliance. Number 11. The brothers of Negan and Neber, 2 wizards who devoted their entire lives to improving agricultural production, were born before the 100 Years' War. They were one of my main mentors, and due to their childhood experiences, they devoted their entire lives to ensuring that people had enough to eat. With the help of Nisr, their wishes were fulfilled, leading to increased grain production and widespread promotion. One after another, he died in the rice field full of hope. Responsible for geological stability and subsequent agricultural production after the signing of the alliance. 12. Omega, Alpha, End, Start. As the last son, like Sean 1, possessing all the characteristics of a governing body, preserving the entire history of civilization, when the revival fails, this most terrifying possibility becomes a reality. The last sun will become the first sun of civilization.